The fact that we've saved as many people as we have is a fucking miracle. But you didn't save Leah. No, I didn't. And I don't know how many people I've helped today, but I can tell you every other person who has died. There was a man named Mr. Spencer who died in front of his children, and an 18-year-old who was brain dead from a fentanyl overdose, and a guy with a heart condition, and a little girl who drowned trying to save her sister. And I'm gonna remember Leah long after you've forgotten her. Oh fuck. I'm sorry. Sorry, you gotta go, man. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Wait, Robbie, wait.
Put him back in his bed, please.
Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Today we are covering the Pitt Season 1, Episode 13, titled 7 P.M. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast. So if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, come back and check us out after you've finished watching. Episode 13 was written by Joe Sachs and R. Scott Gemmell and directed by Damien Marcano.
Oh, Damien.
Mandy, what is the very lengthy synopsis on this one?
Well, we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of medical stuff going on in this episode that I'm going to struggle to adequately describe. So thank you, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
New blood supplies arrive by helicopter as the number of patients exceeds 80. Man. Hospital staff continue to use unorthodox and unfamiliar procedures and equipment to treat patients. Intraosseous infusion drills see many uses. Whitaker unwisely and painfully uses one to administer medication to a unconscious patient. Mohan uses one to relieve another patient's high intracranial pressure. And when McKay's ankle monitor alarm sounds, she uses one to disable the device. Kiara and ward clerk Lupe photograph the dead in order to identify them and notify their families. With no senior physicians available, Santos takes the initiative to perform a reboa to stop a patient's bleeding. Abbott scolds her for her rashness, but praises her for the procedure's success. David returns to the pit and is immediately tackled and handcuffed by the police, but protests his innocence. Jake arrives with Leah in critical condition. Robbie attempts heroic measures to resuscitate Leah, using up several liters of blood over the protests of other staff members, but is unable to save her. After granting Jake's request to view Leah's body, Robbie is overcome by grief and guilt over Leah, Adamson, and the other patients he's lost, and suffers a panic attack.
So I rate this episode as 4.5 balloon making clowns out of 5. I didn't love this episode like I loved all the other ones. I loved Dr. Robbie's moment. I think that was very strong, but this wasn't a 5 for me because there were parts of it that I felt were filler, but I liked it.
I think a sense that I've been having more and more as we get closer to the end is when we go back and we watch all of these episodes in one binge, we're going to see and experience things very differently than we are watching them one at a time, which is, I think, part of the brilliance of the people who wrote this show, because you're going to have two very different experiences of getting into these people's heads. I know what you're saying about this episode feeling like filler. I wouldn't have used the word filler. I would have said more like it's moving the plot along. It was just a lot of medical emergencies all at one time. Some of the in-depth emotional challenges and interactions that we see in most episodes just weren't there by and large because they're deep in it now.
Yeah.
I can't say I enjoyed this episode as much as others, and I still give it a 5 out of 5 because I think that was leading up to a point. And I think that when we go back and we watch it again, it will flow. And that constant stream of nonstop medical emergencies is probably going to further enhance the tragedy of Robbie's breakdown at the end.
Yeah.
It was a tough one, as we say almost every week now.
That's true. So heading into the main part of the episode, I think the best part of this episode was all things Dr. Robbie. So we open up and he's still being very strong, competent leader, doctor. He's just being great. And I continue to love the chemistry of he and Abbott working together. And some of the procedures that they did this week were really cool. And that gave us a better understanding that you were right. Abbott was a soldier, and that is where he learned a lot of working under pressure. And I think that Sean Hoddesy did a phenomenal job he just was so good in this episode. I really liked their chemistry, and I like that he's confident, but he's not cocky. Like Langdon is cocky. Abbott is confident. And I think that they've got the same skills and talents, but the way Dr. Abbott plays it out, I just think is a lot better. And I think he treats the staff with good respect, and he is very good at what he does.
By the way, I would like to give myself a few more pats on the back there for basically psychically predicting that he was going to have some kind of combat experience, and that's where he got so much of his skill. So, yay, Mandy.
High five.
But also something he said to Robbie, I can't remember what explicitly the quote was, but it was some kind of jargon that you would use in the Army, something like, she would have been called dead in the field or something like that. I still believe Robbie probably has some kind of combat background as well. And that's part of what makes him as capable as he is in these situations. And I also think that that's one of the primary differences between Abbott and Langdon. The thing that I think Sean Hatosi? Is that his name?
I say it Haddisy.
Sean is his first name, right?
Yes.
So the thing that I think his character and Robbie's character have in common is that there is a brokenness in their eyes that you don't see in some of the other doctors. And I think that's what you're seeing between him and Langdon. And I think the same thing about Santos. They've been through a lot, but life has not yet broken them through tragedies these men have seen. Maybe it's just that they don't have as much PTSD. I don't know. I just think that there is a cockiness that those two characters have. They all have their own damage, but I think that those two characters have not yet been humbled by life in the way that Abbott and Robbie have been.
Yeah.
Love that character. Was surprised to see on social media this week. There was an interview he did with the Decider, and the host was pointing out that she wasn't going to lie. She was kind of shooting her shot a little bit. She was saying, am I the only one that found it sexy when you were doing your own blood transfusion while you were operating? I get it, man. I mean, anybody that's able to look tragedy in the face and keep going, that's a badass in my book. And I'm really enjoying having this character in here. It's kind of that yin and yang where Robbie was the strong one in that first episode. And now Abbott's gone and gotten his sleep. And now he's in here and they're like two comrades trying to prop each other up. And I'm loving that relationship between them.
The two of them on screen together is just brilliant. And Abbott being that person for Robbie. And I love them together so much.
Yeah.
I mentioned last week how you can see all over his face that he is actively searching each patient that comes in and out of whatever room he's in. He's looking for Jake. And when he's out in the ambulance bay, he actually hears Jake's voice and he's immediately there. And we find Jake in the back of the truck. The way Noah Wiley's face looked before they panned over to show us the back of the truck, I couldn't tell if we were going to see Jake severely injured or his girlfriend severely injured. So that was very well played. Once he sees how severe things really are, that's when we slowly start to see the strings begin to unravel with Robbie. He looked relieved when he saw Jake. And I do want to give a side note. to Taj, I think it's Spates is his last name, the actor who plays Jake. I just think he did a really great job in this episode. And it was absolutely heartbreaking when they get Leah inside and it's evident. There's nothing that can be done, but watching him do everything that he can to help her, it really was reminiscent almost the way the staff was handling him, the way that they all rallied for Whitaker in the beginning when he was desperately trying to save a man they all already knew was dead.
Yeah, that was hard. That you could see on everybody's face that they already knew what was coming. And watching him struggle with that was one of the most dynamic things of the whole episode, was watching how that played out. That, everybody else knew what Robbie didn't want to accept, and they knew it was going to break him.
I think that the two people that stood out the most in this portion of the episode, besides Noah Wyle and his absolute stellar acting, is Abbott and the way they framed Damian Marcano. You're a brilliant director. All of you all are brilliant directors. When you go back and look at who directed each episode, you can kind of start seeing each other's styles. And I like the way Damian focused every single shot that Robbie was in with Leah. Once he panned out from a close-up on Robbie's face, Abbott was in the background watching. Sean Hannity does such a great job of acting that you could see. It's like, do I go over there right now? Do I say something right now? Or he'll just but everything he said, it was just subtle, gentle, not like hammering him. Robbie, this is crap. You shouldn't be doing this. He respected the severity of the situation for Robbie, where to Abbott, this is just another patient who's come in and there's nothing we can do. It's time to move on. And he much as says that to Robbie, but he says it in such a calm, gentle way that I just was really impressive and showed a lot about the respect that I think those two have for each other.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of when I was talking about their relationship and how it seems like they've seen combat together before. You were right. Brilliant choice on the part of the director that they had him so much in the background. One of the things that I think that, again, we're going to go back and we're going to really appreciate about this episode later is that we say that there was not a lot of this emotional stuff going on, that it was just nonstop drama and medical crisis. But honestly, there was a lot going on. It was just so very subtle. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those things. You were watching Robbie and you're invested in his emotions and how hard this is for him. We can, almost predict the crisis that's going to come up for him because of his PTSD and his guilt about losing her for a variety of reasons. But that's what one of the things that I loved was watching. Part of what Abbott was doing with everything else that he had going on was having Robbie's back emotionally. He was always taking Robbie's emotional temperature from afar. Like you said, it was just building and building. You could tell that he knew he was going to have to step in at some point and start reminding him of his duty to everyone else. But like you said, he did it in a way that respected their history together and his respect for Robbie and what Robbie does. And he knows that Robbie is a great man and that he is a great doctor, but he's also human. And he waits until he really feels like, okay, we're at the critical time now. It's time. I've got to be the one to go over there and tell him this is time to stop. And I think it speaks to their relationship that Robbie listened too.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would have listened to anyone else.
Maybe not. Maybe Dana. And she's the other one who really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, side note on Catherine Lanasa, I've been watching Daredevil, and she's got a small role in the new Daredevil episode. I heard the voice. I was watching it on the plane coming to Charleston, and I was like, wait a minute. I know that voice. And it was her. So she looks completely different. It's wild. But anyway, she did a phenomenal job of also being there for Robbie and the entire staff. The sad glances that would, from Mohan. And it showed the progression of each person when they learned, who is that Robbie's working on? Oh, that's Leah, Jake's girlfriend. Who's Jake? Well, Jake is this. And they're like, oh, crap. And it just, the way the director would catch each person's face throughout, just all of it was so amazing, so well done and so well acted that I felt just like when Whitaker was trying to save the gentleman's life early on in the season, I felt Robbie's exhaustion. I felt his anxiety. I felt his pain. This woman is important to his son because he didn't give that much to any other patient and probably wouldn't have, but he was emotionally invested. And then she's gone. And once she's gone, we just see this flow of emotion wash over Noah Wiley. And then, he's got to go tell Jake she's gone. I think Jake's response to him, which I don't think was a fair response, but I'm also not going to chastise a teenage boy who just lost his girlfriend in a very traumatic situation for lashing out at Robbie the way that he did. But I think that comment was just, I have it here in my notes, that rubber band that was stretched way too thin already finally just broke and it all comes out. And while this happened at the worst possible time, I do hope that this is lethargic for Robbie to at least be able to let some of that anguish and sadness and anxiety and pain out. Because I'm a firm believer, sometimes a good cry, male, female, I don't care. A good cry can sometimes really change the way your day is going in some way. I hate to see it happen, but I do hope it's helpful. Sorry, I went on a long time about that.
No, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. But yeah, I do hope that this breakdown isn't going to be completely disabling. It may be exactly what he needed in this moment. It was hard because you know what it's like. We have these kids in our lives that you would do anything in the world for. And here this man is going way outside of his own professional ethics and his own battle plan, as Abbott pointed out, to try to save this girl, partly out of guilt, I'm sure, but also mostly out of love for this kid. And, as parents, what it's like when we have a situation where there's a tough choice to be made and our kid just doesn't get it in a small way. I've been there, and it's so unfair because like that moment where he broke down and he said, I'm going to remember Leah long after you've forgotten her, and then immediately felt like shit about it. God knows I've never experienced anything like what he's going through, but I've definitely had moments where I had to give bad news to my kids and then I get lashed out at, even though there's really nothing that I can do about it. It's just reality. Mm-hmm. And then, sometimes you do then say you break because you're human and you say exactly the wrong thing, but it just hurt my heart because then that's just one more thing he's going to be beating himself up about. And like you said, I don't blame Jake for his reaction. All of these people are still, in addition to being wounded, they're going through so much trauma. Who knows where that kid's head is? I 100% think, based on the character so far, he's going to regret it. He's going to have his own regrets.
Oh, he already did regret it. As far as what he said to Robbie, you could see it. Once Robbie started to break down, he was like, Robbie. He knew shortly after that he made a bad choice of words. Regret and trauma and just absolute emotional breakdown is going to be, that's going to be the words for the remainder of this season. Yeah, that's regret it's going to be heavy on all of them.
One of the things I liked was that in the process of his breakdown, he was mentally defending himself. Like it was like he was processing shit for the first time. You know what I mean?
That was the level of therapy. Robbie it doesn't have time for therapy.
Yeah.
But that whole conversation that I don't think he was really having with Jake, he was having with himself.
Yeah.
And trying to make sense of all the chaos. And I do real quick want to give a nod that they listed every single one of the people he's lost in that day. Think about that. That's one day.
Right.
We haven't even finished this shift, and that was all in one day. So kudos to them and to Noah Wiley for the way he acted that whole scene out to help us as listeners and our watchers to feel the weight of all of those people on him.
Yeah, that takes me back to something that I was talking about in the last episode, that I'm still having a hard time articulating exactly what is impressive to me about this. But it just is like in most medical dramas, a situation like this, a mass casualty event, it's going to be a very special episode. And the brilliance of the writing and directing and the acting choices of everybody involved in this show is that the first 12 episodes of this, you think you cannot get more stressed out because you have tragedy every single episode. So I love that this format has allowed you to build up this deep concern for these people and the stress that they're under, and get to really care about them and to see all of the things that they are bringing into every single day. And now they have to deal with this. I think it's just impactful in a way that I have never seen in any other medical drama, because it's one day. This is not like, I don't want to call anybody out because I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like an ER or Grey's Anatomy or any of these other medical dramas where you would have these other storylines going on of, are these people dating outside of whatever? All we have gotten from the beginning of this, you see trauma after trauma after trauma that in one day's time. And then bam, in the middle of that, you have this complete catastrophe happen that just ratchets it up. And so I think you get a more realistic idea of exactly how hard these types of things are on people in the medical community.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's move into the next main point, which is Dr. Langdon. I got to say, love the guy, hate the guy. He is really doing a great job with work. He's a phenomenal doctor. But what I liked when they did it without saying a word, the tension and the anger between them was very front and center every time the two of them were together. They didn't speak much other than to discuss the specifics of what's going on with the patient. But did you notice that Robbie wouldn't even look at him? Like it was so in your face. And it makes me wonder what this situation is going to look like once all of this trauma is over.
What I got from a lot of that was I didn't feel a whole lot of anger from Robbie. What I felt was repeatedly Langdon is doing what he normally does, which is in a situation where he is not certain, he's calling out to Robbie, and maybe I'm projecting, but I felt like it was more along the lines of Robbie has got 99% of his brain in trauma mode, just trying to stop the bleeding literally as much as he possibly can. But when Langdon kept asking him his opinion, as opposed to in the past where he would have just been like, yep, this is what we do, he now has that doubt of, am I taking on responsibility for letting someone who could be impaired? Like that's factoring into his choices when it seems like when he's talking to Langdon now.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That Robbie is angry. He's angry that Langdon has been stealing medicine. He's angry that Langdon is there when he told him not to be there. I didn't think that he was pissed that Langdon was asking him questions. I think he was just pissed that his presence, that they were even having to have that conversation. Not so much that he was asking him about a patient, because Robbie's always been a good leader, even in times when Langdon needed it. I just saw it as it was just pure, almost just pure anger and tension that he was even having to look at the fact that Langdon was there, period.
No, I don't think I've explained that very well. I don't think predominantly what he was feeling was anger. I think he was feeling trepidation and fear. It wasn't that he was mad that he was asking him questions. I think he was genuinely factoring in now, great, now I have to think. Normally, I would have trusted him with my life and the life of every patient in here. He had complete faith in Dr. Langdon's judgment. I think now what I was getting from those interactions was more, am I doing the wrong thing by even allowing him to do this? So like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, yes, do this. But I think in the back of Robbie's mind is now, great, is he going to kill that patient because he's impaired?
That's an interesting take. That didn't even cross my mind. I just saw it as, like I said, he was pissed that he was there and he wouldn't even look at him. That's interesting. I think both are
probably true.
Yeah. So that's really cool. I didn't think of it that way.
I think it's probably both, honestly. But I do feel like part of that strangeness in their interactions was that in addition to everything else he's got going on, he has to question, do I have a liability over here? One of the things I really love about this show is that I'm a person that genuinely, I love gray areas morally. I think it's good for us to understand that most of life is not black and white. And so I'm really fascinated by gray areas. And I think that's one of the great things about this storyline. There is no right answer. You have a man who has been caught out stealing drugs from patients and apparently working while he is impaired. But then you also have the fact that he is a phenomenal doctor. He's wonderful at what he does. And you are literally in a battleground situation. So there's a no-win here. In fact, there's no book that Robbie can open that says this is exactly what you're supposed to do in this scenario. And I just find that really fascinating. I'm loving that. Did you see the look on Dr. Shamsi's face? Or did you notice that little interaction when they were asking why the guards were there? Langdon said that they thought the shooter might be on the way there. And Dr. Shamsi said, is that true? And he said, well, anything's possible. And that look on her face when she went, don't spread rumors.
Oh, Javani's mom?
Yes.
Yes.
I loved that.
That was great.
I love that the women are continuing to give Langdon all the business whenever.
Every bit of it.
I am absolutely livid for that.
I do also think it was a nice choice that they had Langdon be the one to deal with the fentanyl overdose patient.
Yeah. Honestly, thought I heard a little bit of humility there when he referred to him as my new friend.
Yeah.
Hopefully he is coming to terms with the fact that he is an addict. I started thinking about that when I noticed that interaction where he referred to him as his new friend. And throughout the series, I feel like he's always been weirdly compassionate and patient with people who have addiction issues. So that's a little foreshadowing that maybe we didn't see in the past. But I would like to see at the end of this, I would like to see Langdon take responsibility fully.
Absolutely.
And out himself to whomever and choose to go into rehab without Robbie having to tell on him.
That would be, yes, that would be very redeeming.
Yeah.
For him to do so. So
yeah.
Fingers crossed, maybe that's what we'll get.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the interns because once again, they were all over the place. And it's all I could say is just everything except for Robbie, which was this one central focus on one patient. These kids felt all over the place. There was a lot of dark sadness in this episode, rightfully so. We're dealing with a mass shooting. But these interns gave us, each one of them gave us a tiny little smidge of laughter. Whitaker and Javadi are trying to figure out where 10 and 2 are on the helicopter pad. And Javadi's like, I think we just wait here and they bring us the blood. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but I had to put it in here because it was a cute little moment there between the two of them.
Yeah, I thought so too. One of the things I thought about some of the interactions in this episode is it reminded me of whenever, and I hate to take everything back to restaurants, but that's pretty close to the kind of anxiety and stress that again, I'm not comparing dinner to saving people's lives, but just the immediacy and the stress that you feel in the moment. It reminded me of when we're new, you don't know the ins and outs, that mean customer that's going to come in and complain about everything, but you're in rush now, baby, and you just got to figure that shit out. And sometimes you are going to hilariously fail.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you're going to figure shit out and you're going to be like, yeah, I did that. And I got a lot of that from all of the interns this episode. Both of those emotions.
Whitaker was, God bless Whitaker.
Bless.
He's just adorable, and his little shenanigans, he's just walking around with this little drill, sticking in the IO and the clown patient. I do want to tell y'all, I am petrified of clowns, but 2 years ago, I forced myself to watch the original make of Stephen King's It to immerse myself in it. And I'm so happy to say it might have been the fact that there was blood and gore everywhere else. But the clown didn't freak me out this time.
I think the clown freaked himself out. Honestly, I got the feeling that he was real upset about the fact that he was a child's party clown.
Right. And Whitaker's house, you must really like kids. He's like, no, not really.
Yeah. No, it just made me laugh. My mom has that same phobia.
Yeah.
So I thought about both of you during that episode. And honestly, I hate to tell you, Becky, but I was a little bit like, now you know what it's like for me when people have the stuff getting stabbed in their eyeballs.
I thought you might feel that way. And I was equally going, suck it, Mandy. That didn't even bother me. Look at me now.
And the part of me that's my mom's child was giggling a little bit, thinking about her going, oh, God, get that guy off the screen.
Right. We give you brain worms. We give you dirty Band-Aids and a clown. You're welcome.
Now a clown. Yeah. Poor mom.
But I thought it was cute that Whitaker took Robbie's words literally and is going in and doing that. But it was, King, hey, Whitaker, let's have a timeout, and explaining what Robbie meant by that. It was a very comical moment and very Whitaker, but he does his best. He was bouncing between patients, and he got a great catching the internal bleeding on Mr. Grayson. And, I need Whitaker to stop saying, when asked about a patient, oh, they're okay now, because as soon as he says that, it starts going downhill. So I need him to stop jinxing himself.
Somebody's about to crash out. King, I'm literally here crying, laughing, thinking about, well, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
And I really want to know the answer to that. I've never heard of an IO. I don't even 100% still understand exactly. It seems to be just like a multi-tool in a trauma situation. I would like to know, is it possible that a resident would, or they're not resident, what are they, intern? Are they?
They're residents. They're. I think Whitaker is a third-year resident.
Okay. Would that be an error that they would make doing that to a conscious patient? Or would that be something that in the real world scenario, by that point, you would know absolutely not, don't do that to someone when they're conscious?
I don't want to know the answer to that because it was funny. And
it was funny.
Don't make this real for me, people. I need this.
It was funny and we enjoyed that, but I do want to know.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Felt like one of those things that somebody in the medical field would be like, I don't know if that would have really happened, but it was very funny.
It was great.
King trying to keep it together and figure out the right way to approach that, oh man, that did have me crying, laughing in an episode that was very hard to watch.
And she's doing a great job. I mean, the way she took she used that as a teaching moment to teach Whitaker, no, we don't just go drill holes in people's arms all over the place. Her keen observation on a woman with a gunshot wound to the arm, dealing with PTSD. I have a question. I don't know if I want to get into this. I'm going to say this, we don't need to get into a discussion about it because we're going to get more into who the shooter and all that stuff later on in the episode. But I kind of wondered when she was standing there with that like lost look on her face, that not that she had something to do with the shooting, but that she might know who did.
Yeah, I actually, and we can talk about it now. I don't care. I added that to our chart notes down there because I had the same thought. We can get into that right now. I do think that there is something more there. What that something more is, I don't know. And because we are going to get, I know, into someone else who could have possibly been the shooter, but I agree with you. I think that she knows something.
Right. Okay. So you saw that too.
Yes, 100%. I believe she may have PTSD. I will tell you, one of the things that kept coming up for me as I was watching this episode, her face specifically, but even like going back to McKay's husband or in the last episode, I know for a fact you have been in wrecks. Those moments like, right. Those moments right after you're in a wreck, or like when I was 14 and my house burned down and they came and got me from school. And when you first see it, for me at least, I have been in shock and I know what it feels like. It's like if somebody slowed down time is the only way that you can really explain it, because your brain has to process, wait a minute, like 7 seconds ago, I was driving down the road laughing at something I heard on the radio or what have you. And now there is this whole new horrible reality that has just happened. And it's like it takes your brain some time to catch up. And I could see that in her face. But I definitely think there's more there. I agree with you. I would be very surprised if she doesn't, in some way, shape, or form, have information about the shooter.
Yeah.
I don't think it was her.
No, I don't think it was her, but I do think she has knowledge of who it was.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right. Santos. Okay. She's back to annoying me again. Calling her peers the crappy nicknames and looking for Winky Finger's more exciting patients. And once again, doing a procedure she's not allowed to do without speaking to a superior. I am grateful that everything she's done without asking has been successful. But I do want to know, at what point is she going to have consequences for her actions? And I will give her the benefit of the doubt that she did try to find a superior to talk to about it. And everybody kept pushing her off and pushing her off. I get it. But, and then Abbott's like, you don't ever do something like this without telling someone, but hey, that was pretty badass. So she just smiles, and it's not good behavior. Sam really opened my eyes to how bad her behavior is with her feedback last week. So when is she going to suffer consequences for what she's doing?
I don't know. Maybe that phone that she threw away, could be that guy was the shooter. We don't know. But I'm
talking about the procedures that she's doing without, and they're successful. So she's getting a light scolding, well, except for Langdon, that was not light, but she's getting a scolding, but then she just keeps doing it.
She is an impulsive person. She's an emotional person, especially she lets her anger or her excitement get away with her. And I was just using that it could be going off on that guy who was paralyzed. It could be, just as we're talking about consequences that she had, could be killing somebody because she cowboys ahead without getting feedback from her attending first. Could be throwing that phone in. You don't know, because that is part of her character. Not surprisingly, I had a completely different take on this episode and her behavior because I'm a stan, and I am biased for sure about her. I see that there is growth here in her interpersonal relationships, and
with the patients, I completely agree, but I still think she sucks with her peers. I'm sorry. Finish your point. I apologize.
That's okay. I know why you feel that way, and I don't think I'm right or you're wrong. She just speaks to me more than I think she does to other people, because she does remind me a lot of me, and I use humor to deflect, and sometimes my humor used to be a lot more cruel, and I didn't even realize it at the time. I think it maybe was established at some point, or maybe we just had conjecture that she was in the foster system at some point. And you just build up all these walls around yourselves. And when you grow up a quote unquote tough kid, sometimes that kind of teasing back and forth language is all you know as far as making friendship. So yes, the shitty nicknames were back. But if you notice, like for instance, when Javati was about to go off to take care of something else, she did say, she called her Crash again, but she said, "Stay strong, Crash." And then she patted her on the back. So it's not going to be okay with anybody who just thinks that shitty nicknames are never going to be all right. But I think that she is definitely respecting her peers more. She is definitely doing more to be a team player. We talk about all the times that she's just gone off half-cocked throughout the series. This time, she did try really hard.
No, she did.
Tried to do what she has repeatedly been told to do. And at the end of the day, she saved the patient. And she was doing the same thing that a lot of these other doctors were doing, which is just innovating. Because in that moment, what do? You let the patient die, or do you go against protocol? I loved Abbott's aside to her because, again, this is one of those moral gray areas. And I think Santos is a morally gray character. And I think that's part of why I love her. I think she has a good heart. I think she is a kid. I think she came from a shitty place and she has a lot of growing up to do. You asked when she'll see consequences. If she's in season 2, I'm betting that's when we see a consequence. We're going to see her having a moment where she does something half-cocked and it ends up really endangering a patient or possibly even killing a patient. And that's how she gets broken down to the point where she understands that she comes across as a callous or cold, and that sometimes her choices have really bad consequences. I liked seeing her get back in her groove this week. And I loved that she's still taking direction from King. She's not pushing back on King, her being in charge. I love that she is listening to what her fellow interns are telling her to do. And when appropriate, she is taking direction, but she's still Santos.
You're right.
And, in this situation, it's kind of like Robbie letting Lena come back. What are you going to do? At the end of the day, she saved that lady.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just, God, he's Brianna, you're brilliant. You are so brilliant. My favorite characters are ones that I love and hate all at the same time. And you are that. I will say, which brings me to my last point about the interns and residents before we go into chart notes, is Mohan. The one nickname I loved Santos giving was Ganja Grayson for the pot smoking hippie dude. I absolutely love that. And I wrote here in my notes just one sentence on Mohan being a badass, doing that burr hole in Ganja Grayson's head. That was pretty cool. Mohan, every episode is just shining brighter and brighter and brighter. And I am becoming obsessed with her.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal actress, and that's a great character. I like every episode. Agreed. There's not a scene that she's in that your eye doesn't gravitate to her and what she's doing.
Well done, Ganja Grayson. I will give Santos 2 thumbs up for that. All right. So moving into chart notes, we have a new person, Bridget, who is the night shift nurse played by Zylan Brooks.
Thank God Dana's got some backup here again.
Oh, for sure. She looked so familiar to me, but I went through her IMDb and I couldn't really recognize her from anything else that I'd seen, but I just wanted to welcome her to the chaos. Second chart note, we talked about it a little bit. I no longer think David's the shooter.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think it's him.
Well, I was still on the fence, more on the fence than I am. I can't say for sure, certain that he's not. I am far leaning against it because when Robbie went in that room with him and came back out, he did not seem like, I think if he'd gone in there and he thought that David was the shooter, I don't know that David would have walked out of that room at the point that Robbie was at.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't even come up when he was talking to Jake, I get the impression that David can probably be checked off the list now. And thank God. I would love for this to get through where there is a message that maybe even whoever it ends up being, David learns a lesson from this, from all this tragedy, that this is where anger and not dealing with trauma and all of that can get you. I hope this is going to be a better outcome than I feared for that kid.
Okay.
As a mom of a teenage boy, I do think that one of the really great storylines that they have is this idea that there is a male loneliness epidemic, that there are a lot of young men that are feeling disenfranchised and they've gone through traumas, especially, going through COVID as young people, being isolated, not being encouraged to talk about their feelings, and having all these online influencers who make them feel like the world is out to get them. I would love to see this play out in a way that this kid gets saved instead of turning into a monster.
I hope so. I really, really hope.
Now, let me ask, if it's not David, who do we think it is? Do we think it's anybody we've seen?
The only person that would make sense to me would be the guy that punched Dana.
Doug Driscoll?
Yeah, and I wonder if that woman is his spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Or something, and they were at the thing together and he just lost his shit. But it doesn't make sense to me necessarily why he would attack people at the Pitt Fest. But again, if you're that angry to kill a bunch of people, maybe your location doesn't matter. He's the only one that we've seen so far that stands out to me. What about you?
Yes, that is definitely a front runner. He clearly is a bigot. I started trying to pay attention to the gender and racial mix that we had seen that had come in. There are quite a few people of color. There are quite a few women, but that could just be coincidental. I mean, it's a festival and Pittsburgh is a multicultural city. So I don't know that that means anything. Another thought that I had is the dead guy, because when they talk to his wife, she's where's my brother? And he got killed by friendly fire. That was a thought I had. That might just be far out there. If I had to bet on something now, I would bet it's somebody we've never seen before.
Yeah. Again, I make the joke every week of trying to speculate with this show, and it always is something completely opposite. These writers would be great murder mystery writers. But yeah, I mean, all of those I think are great possibilities. I lean more towards it's somebody we haven't seen before, but with this show, who knows? It could be you don't ever discount somebody who's been on the screen. I better not be Justin, aka Brainworm Guy. I'll be really mad.
I will be furious that he didn't at least let us in on it.
Right? Spill the beans. No, I'm kidding. I don't think it's Justin, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. I do hope they give us an answer to that by the end of the season.
Yeah, I had seen some people online speculate that we would never find out. I will tell you right now, I can't imagine any way that plays out that I'm not going to be very angry if that's the case. And I honestly don't think that would be the case at all. I think it's more likely that they're going to have the shooter come in and they're going to have to work on him.
Oh, for sure.
I am the person that gets resentful if you get pregnant and decide not to find out what kind of baby you're having for 9 months. Don't make me go this whole season and we don't find out who the shooter is.
Next chart note, just want to make a nod. There's a moment when a patient comes in and is passed away, and they just come in with the sheet over their face and they pan over all of the faces of the interns. It was just powerful. The look on their faces and the way they all emoted showed the strain that this night is having on everyone. I just wanted to give a nod to the actors and the directors for that, just one very short but powerful moment.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think I saw that several times. There was a lot of that in this episode. A lot of you really had to pay attention to what was going on. It's almost like like a Renaissance oil painting. You know how when you see those old oil paintings, there's so much going on in one picture. I think that's just something great that the writers and the directors do, is that you have these shots where you will have 30 people in and all of them are making amazing choices. And remember when we were talking to Justin Ward, aka Brainward Guy, and we asked him who he thought was the most interesting person that he met while filming. And he mentioned Noah Wiley's stand-in, and how Noah Wiley's stand-in, that guy would stand there for hours and you would see him just really dialing in on making sure that he got all of the mannerisms right. He got all of the facial inflections, all of that just right. And this is a guy that's not going to be on screen at all. And I think that level of professionalism is evident in scene after scene after scene, where you have these broad camera pans of dozens of people in one scene, and every single one of them looks like they are genuinely working against time.
Yeah, it's well done. So next chart note, we have Kiara and Lupe in the makeshift morgue and them having to take photos of the deceased to show the loved ones for identification, and then having to tell Vincent's wife that he's dead. And then, as you mentioned, they don't have any information on her brother yet, but the only positive they can have in that conversation is that, well, he's not been identified as dead yet. So, I mean, I said it last week, I'll say it again. I'm glad, even if it's small little snippets, I'm glad that they're showing this side of it, because there's more to it than trying to save someone's life. There is an aftermath of what goes on. So I just really like that point.
Yeah, and social workers are so hugely important in a place where trauma happens 24/7. And I loved the act. I want to give kudos to both of them, because I loved the choice they made to have them both say, "We're sorry," at the same time when they had to break the news to her, because it was so real. like the awkwardness of, even though these women are professionals and they deal with things like this is an extraordinary circumstance and it's so hard. You know, these women are human too, and you don't know what to say. The fact that that was the reaction that they both had, I felt like that was a very genuine choice that they made. I think that was very realistic. What else are you going to say? There is nothing.
Yeah. Then we have McKay giving her monitor an IO, and Whitaker, you gonna get in trouble for that, McKay? Probably.
Yes. She's
She has
awesome.
had it. She has reached her breaking point. It's obvious to me she shouldn't be wearing that monitor in the first place. And B, she is in the middle of trying to save what we know over 80 people's lives. And now that thing wants to go off, and she's like, I've had it.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment where Harrison says he has to pee, and Chad tells him, well, I told him to pee in the sink. I'm not going to lie. There's been moments where I, in my younger years, been in a situation where I've really needed to pee, and the only available areas were sinks. And I've done it a couple of times, but out of desperation. And I feel like having Harrison pee in the sink at that point was not the worst thing Chad has said.
No, for sure. But I do think that the little interaction we had with him this week definitely gave me less hope that he had grown really much at all, because he just still had this sullen teenager attitude about him. Instead of thinking like a parent, it was more like he was a big brother that was hanging out there with the kid. Like, I don't know, what are we supposed to do? He's not solving the problem like a parent is. He's just like, well, pee in the sink if you don't want to do that, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's probably been like 20 minutes since he saw the severity of the situation. So maybe he'll get better.
Maybe. I just hope he goes away. I don't like that guy.
I know. Final chart note, Dana is amazing. That is all.
Yeah, this was one of those episodes where just her presence being there. I did a deep dive on Catherine Lanasa as an actor. Not surprised she's a Southern lady. She's from New Orleans. I didn't know she was a dancer, but it makes sense. She's got a lot of presence and grace about her. And I just think that she's awesome in every scene that she's in. Even if she's not talking, she's really powerful. So again, I agree with you. She's amazing.
All right, so I see you added a chart note here. You want to read it?
Yeah, where's Myrna? Where is
Hashtag
Myrna?
find Myrna.
Yes. I almost feel like we're going to just find Myrna, like she's going to come out like Rambo with a bandolier of, bullet, that she's going to take out the shooter when he comes in with like a tie around her. You know what I mean? Like,
I called it last week that she was going to take out the shooter. And I agree with you. I stand by it. You know where Myrna is? Myrna is in the air ducts, like Bruce Willis from Die Hard. She ain't got no shoes on. She stepped on some broken glass, but she has stolen the guns. She's sending notes to the shooter. I got a gun now. That's where Myrna is.
Myrna's about to come out in John Wick, that whole hospital.
No, she's gonna John McClane.
John McClane, that's his name. Okay.
And if the series or season finale isn't Myrna standing there in all her glory in her hospital gown with her bandolier, as you said, and her rifle saying yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. You won't be happy if we don't get an identified shooter. I'm not going to be happy if we don't end with Myrna standing there, John McClane in the camera.
I do feel like yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker is definitely something that Myrna would say.
And has
now
said.
I really hope she does say.
For sure. So, yeah, that's all I have on the episode itself. Final thoughts. It felt all over the place, but I think that was the point. Like you said, none of these are black and white situations, and it's a mass trauma, and it is going to be all over the place. But I want to say the ensemble cast in this show is phenomenal, and Noah Wiley brought it home to the very last second with that beautiful, heartbreaking performance at the end. And I give another shout out to set design, props, and special effects. There's been people commenting on how they're having a hard time watching this show because of the gore. And I get it. There is a lot of gore, but it's not gratuitous. It's purposeful. It is a point. That is what death and destruction look like. This is it. And it's not easy to look at. And I think it's something that we all need to see to hammer home. When you turn on the news and you see that there's been a mass shooting, it's not just seeing the after effects of people being escorted out of buildings or whatever. This is what these frontline workers have to walk in and see.
Yeah, just like with the birth last or a couple episodes ago when we were talking about how, at first it was shocking, but then you start thinking, no, hell yeah, let's let people see that medical emergencies are ugly sometimes, that they're not clean and pretty and it's stressful. And even more importantly, that I think one of the major themes here is that human life is so fragile and it's so precious. And what these people do is miracle work every single day while continuing to just be normal human beings. And I think that in a lot of ways, seeing that, like you said, is super important, especially when you're talking about gun violence. I don't want to go too far down editorializing about gun violence in this country, but I am getting to the point when I see the phrase thoughts and prayers, it makes me so angry.
Mm-hmm.
Prayers are great. But when you are actively working to make the world less safe for people, vulnerable people, then take your prayers and shove them up your ass. Sorry, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And I think that you're right. For instance, one of the things I noticed this week when they were operating on her, when they ripped her shirt open, they were very careful to not show her nipples, which sounds stupid, but I respected that. I mean, this is a teenage girl, and I think that there probably were a lot of conversations about how do we portray this as realistically as possible without making this teenage girl an object of sexuality for weirdos out there. And I think that they have given a lot of thought to the best way to walk that line, like you pointed out. I don't love the gore, but every time they show it, it seems very purposeful.
Yeah, I agree. It should be hard for you to watch.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So let's head over to the trivia section. I see my dear Mandy has a couple of things here, and I'm very curious. So what do we got?
Okay, so there was one of the procedures that Dr. Langdon was doing in this episode, and I do not remember which one it was, but I think it was some kind of intubation because it seems like everybody's getting intubated somehow in this episode. Something he did was a bit unusual, and I think it was Mohan asked, how did he learn that? And he says, MRAP podcast, which caught my attention. I thought, what is an MRAP podcast? MRAP podcast is Emergency Medicine Reviews and Perspectives, and they describe themselves as a monthly emergency medicine audio series full of CME and the latest reviews and perspectives. So apparently this is a service doctors and residents they subscribe to. It's fairly expensive, but it seems to be really, really cool. It's a way for them to do continuous learning.
That's neat.
Yes, emrap.org, emrap.org. I encourage anybody that's fascinated by that to check it out. It was pretty cool. I don't know if you're in the medical community and you didn't know about it, it may be something that you want to check out.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very interested in this next one.
So the theme song, if you guys have noticed that this is the first time that the theme song to the show actually had lyrics to it. And that was by choice. I looked into a little bit about why that is. I saw that the Pitt fan page doing an amazing job as always. They had posted an article about it. It got me a little bit curious about it as well. And well, when you read the words, it makes more sense. So the theme song is called Fail Forward, and it's by Taji and Gavin Brivik. Gavin Brivik is the composer for the show. He tapped this guy that he met a few years ago, and I'm just going to read here from collider.com. He says, 6 years ago, I met Taji, who was the songwriter and singer, and the most talented vocalist, songwriter, and producer I know. He showed me his debut album, Tunnel Sun, and I literally couldn't get his voice and playing style out of my head. Ever since I met him, I've been searching for the perfect project for us to collaborate on. Once I saw the first few episodes of The Pit, I knew that Taji's sound could encapsulate the tone of Robbie's point of view. We both worked tirelessly on the song Fail Forward, experimenting with various synths, guitar sounds, lyrics, and drum beat production techniques to really embed the song into the show's themes. This all wouldn't be possible without the showrunner, Scott Gemmell, championing the song. We owe Scott and John Wells everything for supporting our collaboration and using the song in the show's credits. I'm going to read some of the lyrics that they came up with to really tell Robbie's story and kind of give you a glimpse of what's going on in his head. So the first verse is, I'm a little bit fucked up. I'm a little bit fucked up in my head. Must be some kind of fucked up to try again and again. Oh, I don't get to rest yet. Plenty of rest when I'm dead. I'm a little bit roughed up, but not from regret. It's easy to fail. I fail again. The failure's the worst. I fail forward. You can go and check out the rest of the lyrics online. I actually think I got this from genius.com and I listened to the song. You can listen to the song on Spotify. I think they got some of the lyrics at the end, not quite 100%, but you see the theme of what they're talking about. And I also want to point out, I Googled what the phrase fail forward means, and I want to give you the definition of fail forward. Fail forward refers to the concept of embracing failure as a learning opportunity and a stepping stone to future success. It means valuing every failure for the lessons learned and applying those lessons to future efforts, even if those efforts might also result in failure. This mindset encourages individuals to use failure purposefully to find success, moving closer to their goals with each setback. Ultimately, failing forward fosters resilience and innovation, allowing one to grow from experiences rather than be hindered by them. And this is from theknowledge.org. I've never thought of that phrase very much. I've heard it before. I've never wholly thought about it as a concept until really looking into this. But I would say that's pretty much how I think we should all run our lives. As we've seen throughout this series, guilt and regret for the past and the traumas that you've experienced, you don't process them and move on from them, they can drag you down. Life is hard for all of us. We're all just trying to get through this life. But I think this concept of fail forward is such a beautiful concept, because I think when you can look at life as a continuous journey of learning and you take the knowledge and move forward instead of allowing it to keep you in this spiral of shame and guilt, that's how you have a good life.
Yeah, I agree. I tell the kids in my world all the time, you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be errors in life. But the best thing that you can do is take those and learn from them. I am sitting here a ball of mistakes, but they've all been lessons learned and I grew from them. So, yeah.
When I keep standing up for Santos, largely I'm standing up for young Mandy. And if I think back on some of the things that I've said or done, and I just stayed in that place of regret instead of choosing to move forward, couldn't have anything. And that's part of why I love that character so much. And I think she does have potential. She might grow to be a Robbie or an Abbott one day, you know?
Hopefully. I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So I have no misdiagnosis this week because yet again, I'm flawless, as Mandy would say. But Mandy has a note here. What did we make an error, or is this, please tell me this is all you?
I won't even say it's really an error, because I don't really make those very often, regardless. I just throw out everything I just said, where I was admitting that I've made many errors in my life and will continue to make more. No, I don't necessarily say it's an error, but I want to amend what I said last week about the guy that was coming on as night shift crew leader. What's his name? The guy that
Dr. Shen.
Dr. Shen. I'd still contend that he was being a bit glib in that scene. And I think that was backed up in a couple of the interactions that we had. But I saw some social media chatter this week on TikTok that were night crew folks in the medical industry. And they told me basically, rightly, that I don't really understand what the whole vibe is on the night crew, and that they saw themselves very much in him. And I want to say the woman that's the new night crew surgeon, what's her name? Walsh, I think. I don't remember.
I think so.
But, she was making jokes about, go take a 2-hour nap. I got this. And what I have gotten from the people that I've talked to that are night crew medical folk is that there is just a whole vibe that they have, that you've seen everything, you've done everything. You have to just be a little bit more chill. And that's just their thing. I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that they think that that guy is doing a great job of representing them. And
Well, I don't know about representation of night shift crew because I've not ever worked as a doctor in the night shift, but like you said, he was chill, and I don't think he knew what was coming. I think he realized this was a severe situation, but his mindset just does not work like the other people around him. So justice for Shen. Thank you.
well, they agree with you that he was just being a night shift dude.
Well, that means they're very smart. So thank you.
I knew you'd like that.
I'm going to start a smooth talking podcast where we just talk about how wrong Mandy is all the time.
No, that's going to be a very brief podcast for you.
Yeah, so you think. All right, so let's head into some very exciting show notes and news. Now, this is still very early, so I can't confirm that this is exactly what it's going to look like once it all comes out, but Variety and other platforms are reporting that it looks like the Pitt is going to be nominated for some Emmy Awards, and here's what the buzz is so far. The Pitt would be nominated for Best Drama Series, which... frick yeah, man. Noah Wiley, Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Again, heck yeah. Fiona Dora, Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. I agree. Catherine Lanasa, Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. How do you decide? Can there be a tie? Oh, I don't know. And then Sean Hennessy as Guest Actor in a Drama Series. So, yay! Again, don't know exactly how concrete that they are, but this is probably the first time in a long time I'm actually going to be sitting there watching the Emmy nominations as they come out to see what hopefully they get ensemble cast, directing, all of it. Somebody should be nominated in every category from the show. So very exciting. Just wanted to share that. And thank you to the Pitt fan page for bringing this article to my attention.
Yeah, I was Googling while you were talking when the nominations would actually be announced. My birthday, July 15th. Yeah, my 50th birthday. So that would be a great present for me.
You can open up your hearing aids, pop them in, and sit and watch.
I'm in my prime.
You'll actually be able to hear the announcements.
First of all, I am a little deaf, so shut up.
Whatever.
But other than that, I'm in my prime. I don't know who you're talking about. I've never been hotter.
That's facts.
And literally, I mean that I've never been hotter because I am in menopause and I have hot flashes about 72 times a day.
Hot flashes are not a joke.
Oh, God.
So Mandy has got some very exciting news to share with y'all. We have been working on this very hard with a lot of people, and we are so excited. So Mandy, let's have it.
We are excited to announce that some cast interviews are in the works. We have scheduled dates with Alexandra Metz, who plays Dr. Garcia, Amber Martinez, who plays Nurse Kim, aka Whitaker's possible soon-to-be wife, and Crystal McNeil, who plays Kiara Alfaro. I am so excited.
Me too. I'm nervous and excited all at the same time. So, peoples, if you have fan questions, send them in. I will do my very best to make a post at least the day before the interview is scheduled, but I've got a lot of travel on my plate. So hear us now and go ahead and send in any fan questions, and we'll randomly pick one or two depending on how much time we have with each person, and we can ask them a fan question like we did with the amazing Justin Wade. So now we're going to head into feedback. We got some good amount of feedback this week. Thank you again, y'all. Some interesting takes on the previous episode and the episode before. So Mandy, you want to start us off?
Yep. Via YouTube on episode 12 at Linda1541 says, "Thank you, ladies, for this wonderful podcast." Aw, thank you, Linda. I am a retired nurse from Pittsburgh. Whoa, we got the real Dana here.
Seriously.
She says, "I never worked in a setting like this. I waited till my kids were grown to go to nursing school. I was much older than most nurses starting out."
Good for you.
Yes. Linda, we love a lifelong learner here. both have so much admiration for people that don't let life suck all of the joy and curiosity out of them, and they just keep going forward. And we just really admire you, and thank you for leaving the feedback.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's very cool. And thank you for sharing that with us. So at Keno0794, another excellent episode. I agree. This totally flew by. I am so thankful that I have not had to experience a mass casualty event where I work, us too. But some of my colleagues in the same province did a few years ago. Oh, this gave me some inspiration to review our protocols. Well, good. So looking forward to the last few episodes. We are too. And thank you, as always, for giving us your firsthand experience on the medical front. We do appreciate it.
All right, via the Pitt with Noah Wiley on Max fan page. Iduna Starhawk. Man, I love these names. You guys are so creative.
Amazing?
Yes, it makes me feel so uncreative sometimes, but I just love them. Anyway, Iduna Starhawk says, every week I say this is the most intense episode of a TV show I have ever seen. And then they top it the following week. Same. This week was no different. The end scene with Dr. Robbie breaking down was so hard to watch. Girl, me too.
It was.
Dune, whoever you, I hope I'm saying it correctly, but yeah, we were with you 100%.
Via our Facebook post on episode 13, Linda Morrison writes, I am worried about Dr. Robbie. And when she adds a sad crying face emoji, we are too. Very, very worried.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, hopefully this is going to be a breakthrough and not so much a breakdown. Mary Warden Good says, holy shiitake mushrooms.
I love that.
Me too. Holy shiitake mushrooms. That was insane. No preview for next week. Oh, Mary, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I noticed that too. I'm sure that was strategic because this next episode, I think, is going to be an ultimate episode of what happens in the ER itself. I feel like I read somewhere that the next episode, the last episode, is going to be kind of a postmortem with the only place where we're going to see some of their personal lives. So I think that's why they didn't have the preview for next week, is they want to keep us completely guessing. So I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. That ending, ugh. Mary goes on to say, my heart broke for him. I don't think David did this. My bet is still on we don't either. My bet is still on the jerkwad who hit Dana.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility too.
Strong possibility, yeah. Kathy Castillo Johnson added, same. I don't think it was David, but I'm wondering about the woman who might have PTSD. She might be related to the suspect.
Ah, so true.
Yep. And Linda Morrison also added, I don't think it was David either. So I think we're a lot of us on the same page with that it seems like it's less and less likely that it's going to be that kid, that it's going to be somebody else.
So Maureen Wilson writes, that was his soul crying. Oh my gosh. Yes. And via Facebook Messenger, she wrote, good luck recapping this one without breaking down. Love that Dr. King threw a lifeline to Whitaker, who is losing it. He kind of is. And Santos, did she serve a tour in the Army or a MASH unit? She's got mad skills. Huh.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's youngish, but she's in her 20s. I mean, I think she's old enough.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it would also explain why she had, that Abbott had kind of that affinity for her.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Erica Lynn. Hey, Erica, what's up? Between me sobbing and holding my breath, this episode sat with me far after it was over. The fact his straw that broke the camel's back breakdown happened in the same room his mentor died in 5 years prior is gut-wrenching. Erica, I'm going to interject here. It's killing me that this is all in the peds ward. Back to Erica's comment, Erica goes on to say, as soon as I noticed the animals on the walls when they were coming in to quote-unquote claim Leah's body, I knew it would be terrible. I wanted to give so much praise to Noah Wiley for that scene because wowee.
So via our email, Gerard Mariak, he says, I actually disliked a lot of this episode. In no order, Jake being a blubbering fool blaming Robbie for Leah's death seemed to stretch. Like we need some kind of commentary so that Robbie can have a breakdown. That's kind of funny. Right, like he hasn't dealt with enough that he couldn't have just started crying on his own. The supposed shooter kid just strolls back in the hospital like he had no care in the world and didn't know what was going on. I don't think he did. And oh yeah, the mom still just happens to be out in triage. The kid is wearing the same clothes, has no blood on him at all, seemed awkward. Also, we are at 90 or more victims. Giant holes in the victims because the shopkeeper's gun was too small to make these holes. It's hard to see this being a walk around shooter. I don't think anyone in any episode has said that. Also, I really don't know where they supposedly held Pitt Fest, but none of the Pittsburgh venues are near a high rise hotel where someone could have an arsenal. Even in previous episodes, I thought some scenes were jammed in to make a point. The Coffin Kid Unmasked is called out in an ER of 100 people who range from junkies to homeless people, and someone gets mad at an unmasked child. LOL. And the weight bias scene was just an error. The one doctor claimed that McKay was biased against the heavy person because she thinks the woman is automatically unhealthy due to weight. But McKay did just the opposite of that. She considered that the woman was sick and tested for UTI. If anything, she thought the heavy woman was healthier than she was. So that was a complete conflict with the scene. I absolutely love the show, but there is some sloppy writing. Thank you so much, Gerard, for writing in. We also received a voicemail from our leader, Mark, on last week's episode. So let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Mandy and Becky. It's Mark. I just wanted to give my feedback for the Pitt Season 1, Episode 12, which was, oh my God, so intense. I can't really fathom what was going on. And for the people that were actually involved in this particular episode, honestly, it was amazing. We got Sean Hennessy coming back after episode 1, coming back into this fulcrum of this particular, it's like this shift, and with Noah Wiley as Dr. Robbie, embracing him and loving it, and having his staff on there. But everybody coming together at what they say is called Pitt Fest, because it's like a really intense episode in the sense that it's a triage episode, very much almost like in a ER or Grey's Anatomy kind of episode, but in realism and real time, and I really do enjoy it. I really do enjoy the actors that are there. You see still the drama between Dana Evans, Dr. Santos, Dr. King, Javati, and Dr. McKay, and as well as Whitaker. And then we get, of all people, Dr. Langdon back. And he's there trying to help and trying to do the right thing, even though, he was outcasted. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's amazing. The drama within it and the fact that it all happens within one day is amazing. I just want to say that out to the listeners. Becky and Mandy have been doing a great job, and I love what they're doing.
Aw. Thank you,
They've been
Mark.
basically covering this show from the time it started, and they've been doing such a great job. And I'm so glad for them. Mandy and Becky, you guys, I know I love you guys. I just love what you guys give. And this episode was so intense. I really can't really surmise what I could state, what I felt throughout the whole episode. But the thing is, you guys gave us a lot. And all I could say is thank you for your coverage. Thank you for your insight and everything about the particular episodes that were going on for this past season, and your continued coverage. So I look forward to what you have to say about the episode. But this one was very intense, and I loved every little aspect of it. How integral everything that is within the episode, with all the actors, the dialogue, everything. I just love it. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you, Goodbye.
Oh, Mark,
like-
that was awesome.
I love the sign off, Mark. You know we love you.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you. Man, we appreciate you so much.
If you hear me talk about Power Core Entertainment and Mark, that is Mark. And he is a big reason why we're here and able to do what we do. And that was very sweet and insightful. So thank you so much. Next up, we have a voicemail from Sam on episode 13. I want to read in the body of her email where she attached the voicemail. She says, "When Dr. Robbie cries, we all cry. Love you, ladies." And she signs it Sam and my box of tissues.
Yeah.
So let's hear what Sam has to say.
Whoa. It's a very heavy episode content, and it's just really difficult to watch. I'm a part of the millennials that we are the school shooting generation. I know that's every generation now, but at least when I was in 6th grade when Columbine happened, and that was a very formative time for me. I remember watching the news and just crying and realizing that I wasn't safe at school, and I wasn't safe at school from other students. So it was just this really sort of shift in my worldview. And my age cohort, we just kind of graduated up with school shootings. I remember being in college when Virginia Tech happened, and it's just like we just sort of grew up with that, and it's just always been a really tough thing for me to watch. So it's tough watching this. Like that's what gets me every time is these mass shootings. And you see these poor doctors trying to deal with it. I cannot imagine. Thankfully, even though I've worked in an ER, knock on wood, I've never had to deal with these kinds of mass casualty stuff. And it's just horrific. I mean, we're seeing just how stressed out and overstressed these medical teams are, the nurses, the doctors, everyone. When they said 85 patients, I think, in an hour, because remember, it's like every hour, and I was like, I can't even, that doesn't compute in my brain with, how much is happening. And these are 85 trauma patients. These weren't, some of them had a runny nose. These are all physical traumas coming in where, I mean, they kind of talked about it in this episode, that you don't know where the injuries are going to ricochet to. So it was just, I felt it in my gut watching this, and I just, bravo to the team, because they must have interviewed some sort of, hospitals that had responded to these mass shootings, and, how do you handle it? Just really fantastic, writing, acting, and we see, the trainees who were taught, hey, you gotta check in with your attendings. I love this episode showing this is a war zone. You can't check in. There's no one available. People are dying left and right, and you're so understaffed, and it's just there's no time to think. When Dr. Santos was doing that special procedure, the Roboa on that woman, I was like, I hope she doesn't get in trouble, because he did tell her to do it. He's like, do whatever you have to do.
Yeah, he did.
And that wasn't her fault. So he kind of had to tell her, you can't ever do that, because you could paralyze her. You could kill her. He's, like Abbott said, badass, you did a good job. Yeah. Every time I'm watching the show now, I think you guys are so right that Santos and Langdon are very similar, because I was seeing the parallels to their behavior in this episode too. I think both of them have sort of gotten more comfortable with calling in other people, and I just, it was really intense epistive, and I like the little aside. They're like, yeah, Psych's not here. I'm like, yeah, well, in the real world, at least if you had a psychologist assigned to the ER, we would be. I have done what Kiara had to do. It is as brutal as it looks. It's not great. It's not fun. Thankfully, I never had to do it for a mass shooting. But it is pretty brutal. And unfortunately, as much as we train these physicians, they don't have the skill set of mental health. So I like that they're having people who are experts in communication and mental health really debriefing the family members. And also, there doesn't seem to be a lot of time for the physicians to do this. And, you know, when Robbie went in with Jake, I was like, oh God, no. This is why we tell you cannot operate on your own family. You cannot do therapy on your own family. Like, this is not going to go well.
I had the same thought, Sam.
It was just the straw that broke the proverbial traumatized camel's back. And yeah, like, I mean, I was a part of those decision teams in COVID, and like, it's all brutal all the time and all awful. So yeah, it was, I mean, just really everyone did an amazing job. And I did like that one patient where Dr. King and Dr. Santos were trying to figure out what like medically was wrong with her. They're like, brain injury, stroke. And finally they settled on PTSD. And I'm like, yeah. I just like the little like touch in there of like, yeah, physicians get like at most 1 month training in psychiatry. And that's the medicine part of it. So like, yeah. I like to think, when I was watching this, I was like, what would I do if I would, like, thankfully I've never, had to do this. I think, yes, you do have to shut a part of yourself down. I mean, we're kind of seeing it in these characters, but there's a reason people who work in medicine have, like, dark senses of humor, and a lot of us will joke, like, I'm dead on the inside. Like, I'm just a psychologist. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a physician. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a PA. Like, I can't even imagine what they all go through. But I definitely, I like to joke around that I'm dead on the inside. Because it's just, you just see this stuff so much.
And I'm not in medicine.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's an intense thing. I would probably, mental health would have to be creative because you just don't have the staff and you don't have the time to help everyone. I probably would have tried to get the more mobile patients to interact with the patients that were mildly more critical.
Okay.
Like, I would take maybe Shock Lady. I don't even know. Do we have a name for her? The one who's wandering around.
Shooter's wife.
There is something physiological, and it's just like a red herring that it might be psych. I would put her next to, I can't put next to hippie guy, but I would put her next to someone that she could help and encourage her to help, because not only are you freeing up staff, but you're also using their helplessness to empower them for that. And of course, this would have to be creative. And so, you'd have to pick and choose, and like how, who can take it. Like Jake, I'd be like, hey, I need your help over here with this woman who's bleeding out. He can't save her, and it may be more traumatizing, maybe, but he's just left with his thoughts. And so, it's okay, glove up, all hands on deck. And, let's see if we can get some of the more mobile patients who are willing to do something to feel productive rather than stay in the helplessness. We see this a lot when there's big accidents or something, people want to go and donate blood and stuff. We want to feel helpful when something like this happens, so I would have just suggested that. I thought all the trainees were rock stars, and this is so far outside of anything in their scope, and dear God, none of us want to go to a hospital when there's been a mass casualty. All of these procedures, I was like, oh gosh, this is what happens when there's no oversight available. You definitely don't want it. They did a great job with what they had to do, but it's not great. Even that surgeon was like, if she wakes up, I'm like, yeah, no, she did what she had to do, and that's still not great. Thank you so much for your lovely response to my feedback, and you ladies are doing a truly wonderful job, and I cannot wait to hear you guys help us process what poor Robbie went through, because, oof, that's rough.
Thank you so much, Sam. I am super happy to announce that Sam is going to be guesting with us next week.
I can't wait.
So I can't wait to get her thoughts on everything.
I love the way your brain works, Sam, and we've never even spoken in real life yet. So I am so excited about you coming on next week. And I want to make a couple of points. One, you pointing out how many victims there were, it made me have the thought that we might be looking at more than one shooter. We didn't discuss all of that.
Oh,
but the number of casualties that we are seeing, it is insane. And it leads me to believe that there may be more than one. Secondly, I want to tell you, we could get into this more next week when you're on, maybe. I love that you pointed out how important psych is for there. I love what you do. And I love that you're advocating for how important that is in situations like this. I know one of the issues that I had when I first went on psychiatric medication, when I acknowledged that I had depression and anxiety, and it was probably something that I needed to be medicated for, was that I initially got it from a general practitioner who had very little psych training, and he had no real bedside manner in dealing with me. He's looking at somebody who is in emotional crisis, and he just told me, this is just who you are now. Just deal with it. And I am so grateful for the psychiatrist that I then went to and talked to that helped me to understand that what my body was going through was by and large a chemical process that was outside of my control, and it helped me understand how medication worked. So I want to move on from that, but I just want to tell you, thank you for what you do.
Amen. Amen to all that. And we're, again, super excited to have you next week.
Yeah. Thank you again to all the people who wrote in and called in with feedback, and for all the love. Man, we love hearing from you all every week. This just makes this so rewarding and great. And it's just, we really appreciate it. You are part of the team.
Amen to that. And a special thanks to the Pitt fan page. You heard earlier, they're doing a lot to help us get in touch with some of these actors on the show and giving us great content. So special thanks to the Pitt fan page, and also thanks to the Pitt with Noah Wiley on Max and the Reddit, the Pitt page, for providing us so much content and allowing us to post our episodes and whatnot on their pages. There are links to all of these pages in our show notes. Please check them out and show them some love. So we have last week's poll results. This one was not surprising to me. I think the response to this one made a lot of sense. But the question was, should Robbie have done more to get Langdon out of the ED? What was our results, Mandy?
Out of a total of 13 votes, every single one of you agreed that no, he was in the middle of a massive trauma situation and he didn't have time to force the issue.
Amen. Amen, I say. This week's poll, normally Mandy and I banter back and forth about what this week's poll should be, but I knew her brain and went ahead and just put this one in. And when she saw it, she was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was going to suggest.
It's our hive mind.
So, yeah. So this week's poll's question, do you think David is the shooter? Yes, it is absolutely him. All signs point to yes. Or no, it's too obvious. It's got to be someone else. So we will post that once we get this week's episode up, and we'll pin it like we did last week. So please check it out and let us know what you think. If you would like to get in touch with us, leave feedback, or just say hi, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight, 2 @gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comments section, or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast with the 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a review, comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice. So how about we head to the roof now, wait for the helicopter, figure out where 10 and 2 are, and talk about where else listeners can find us, podcast recommendations, good TV or movies, or anything else that we'd like to share. Mandy has something really cool to share with you all.
I do, guys. I am so excited about this. I know we briefly mentioned it last week, but I have started a podcast on my own. Becky is definitely going to be guesting very, very soon, but it is called Dinner for Her. It is a podcast about historical women with flavor. This is such an exciting thing for me. My husband joked this week that he hasn't seen me this excited about anything in 20 years, and he's not wrong. Basically, the premise of, yeah, I mean, I feel like, I was like, Eric, is this what serotonin feels like? Because I feel we are in a weird, weird time to be a woman in this country, especially. And as a mom, and especially a mom of a young woman, I was feeling pretty helpless at certain points in the last few years. And this podcast just sprang into my head a few months back. And it just feels like something can make a real difference to me. And I say that not because of my hard work, but because this is going to be a collaborative effort. Basically, the premise of this podcast is each week we're going to pick a woman from history to discuss, and it's going to be me and a woman in my life, just, one of my buddies, one of the amazing, intelligent women that I know, just through my everyday life, some folks, hopefully, that I've met through this podcasting experience with What's On Tonight. Really, I want any woman that has another woman from history that they feel like the world needs to know more about. I want you to be on this show at some point. We will make it happen, whatever we have to do. So we're going to get together every episode. We're going to talk about some fantastic woman from history. And then at the end of that, we're going to share a meal that will in some way be relevant to that woman's life, whether it was her favorite meal, whether it was something from her culture that she might have enjoyed, or whether it's something, as in the case with our first dinner guest, Eleanor Roosevelt, that actually had quite a bit to do with her time in public life and her legacy. Woo! Please go check out the Dinner for Her podcast. You can find me on social media at Dinner for Her podcast on Facebook and at Dinner for Her on TikTok. And you can find the podcast itself under the Pirate Court Entertainment Pod on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, basically anywhere that you've been listening to this podcast, you can find mine as well. Please go like the page, check out that pod. And if you're if you're a woman and you're interested in being on and talking about some phenomenal woman that from history, this could be someone from your history book. This could be somebody that is in your family, could be your grandma. If you think that you have a phenomenal woman from history that the world needs to know more about, I want you. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
The first episode was really great and I enjoyed it. And we will link her Facebook page in our show notes for What's On Tonight every week. So you can just click and go straight to her page and see her next episode.
Thank you, Beck.
You're welcome. I'm so proud of you. I feel like my baby's had a baby. Remember to check out Panels to Pixels, where we're covering Daredevil Reborn. It's a lot of fun. I'm so impressed at how into this show I actually am. And then podcast recommendations. Don't forget about the cast of us continuing their amazing rewatch of The Walking Dead. They're halfway through season 4. It's getting to the good stuff. So it's fun to rewatch and listen to them and hear their thoughts. We want to give a huge thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core website. It can be found on our Facebook page. There you can find out about other podcasts as like the Slay Lounge podcast with Billy and Will and our brand new Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy. And you can also find out other projects Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 13 of The Pit. We will be back next week where we will break down episode 14 entitled 8 p.m. with special guest Sam.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. An attitude of gratitude changes everything. So let's all take a moment to remember all the good things in our lives and be thankful. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.
With this podcast, does that make you my mom?
It makes you my bitch.
Becky.
Another great show. Thank you guys for coming out. To-go bags are over there. And just remember, all gifts that are given by the What's On Tonight show are taxed.